The first time I saw my own obituary, I was sitting in the back pew of a church in Savannah, Georgia, wearing a black dress, dark glasses, and a wig that itched along my hairline. My husband stood near the front of the church with his hand on my mother's shoulder. He was crying. Not the kind of crying you do when grief breaks you open. No. This was careful crying. Pretty crying. The kind of crying a man practices in a bathroom mirror when he knows people will be watching. I should know. I had been married to him for 11 years. My name was Evelyn Hart. At least it had been before the accident report, before the river, before the missing body, before my husband told everyone I was dead. The pastor cleared his throat and said, Evelyn was a woman of quiet strength. Quiet strength. I almost laughed. For most of my life, people called me quiet because I did not explain every bruise, every betrayal, every time I swallowed my anger, so other people could keep their peace. But I was not quiet that morning because I was weak. I was quiet because I had come back to listen. And by the time my husband finished pretending to mourn me, I knew exactly how I was going to destroy the life he stole from me. I did not plan to kill him. That would have been too easy. I wanted him alive when the truth found him. I wanted him standing under every light he had used to blind me. And I wanted him to understand that a woman he thought was buried could still dig her way out. The story really began 3 weeks earlier, on a rainy Thursday night in late October. I lived in a brick house outside Charleston, South Carolina. The kind of house that looked warm from the road and cold once you stepped inside. It had white columns, a porch swing, and a kitchen my husband loved showing off to his clients. My husband, Grant Hart, sold luxury property along the coast. He knew how to smile without warmth and how to make rich people feel like they had discovered something first. He wore blue suits, polished shoes, and cologne that lingered in a room after he left. People trusted Grant. That was his greatest talent. He could shake a man's hand and make him feel richer. He could lower his voice and make a woman feel chosen. He could stand beside me at charity dinners and say, Evelyn is the heart of everything, while squeezing my waist hard enough to leave fingerprints under my dress. I owned a small catering business called Hart Table. I built it from nothing after my father died and left me his old pickup truck, $2,000, and his stubborn belief that I could make beauty out of scraps. For years, I cooked for weddings, office parties, church luncheons, and private dinners. I worked 16-hour days, kept receipts in shoeboxes, and washed dishes until my hands cracked. Grant said he was proud of me. Then he offered to handle the numbers. That was the beginning of the end. At first, it felt like help. He paid bills, spoke to vendors, set up business accounts, and told me I should focus on the food because that was where I shined. I wanted to believe him. When you love someone, you do not notice the lock until you are already inside the cage. Over time, my company started making more money, but somehow I had less access to it. Grant said we were reinvesting. Grant said taxes were complicated. Grant said I was emotional about money because I grew up poor. Every sentence started with my name and ended with me doubting myself. Evelyn, you do not understand contracts. Evelyn, you always panic before success. Evelyn, I'm protecting us. The first time I found proof that he was stealing from me, it was by accident. I had gone to his office to drop off a suit he needed for an evening showing. His assistant, Monica, was not at her desk, and his office door was open. Grant was in the conference room on a call, laughing in that low, confident way that made strangers lean closer. On his desk sat a folder marked Hart. Ich pens own. I recognized my company name, so I opened it. Inside were loan papers. My signature was at the bottom of each page, only it was not my signature. It looked like mine from a distance, but I knew every loop, every pressure mark, every tiny habit of my own hand. This was copied, practiced, forged. The loan was for $480,000. Collateral listed business assets, personal savings, and our house. My mouth went dry. I took pictures of every page with my phone. My hands shook so badly that half the photos were blurry, but I kept going. That was when I saw the second folder under it. Life insurance policy. My name. $2 million. Beneficiary Grant Michael Hart. I heard his footsteps in the hallway and shoved the folders back into place. I turned toward the window just as he entered. "Evie," he said. Grant was the only person who called me that. I used to love it. That day, it sounded like a leash. "What are you doing here?" I held up the suit bag. "You forgot this." His eyes moved from the suit to his desk, then to my face. A smile returned too slowly. "Sweetheart," he said, "you should have called first." That night, I did not sleep. Grant lay beside me breathing softly, one hand resting on my hip like possession. I stared at the ceiling and replayed everything. The missing money, the forged loan, the life insurance. The way he had recently started asking if I was tired. The way he told friends I had been depressed since my mother moved to Savannah. The way he had insisted we take a weekend drive to the old river house his client wanted him to list. By morning, fear had become something colder. I called the police. Or I tried to. I drove to the station and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel. Then I saw Grant's golf partner walk out in a deputy's uniform. Deputy Cole Brewer, he saw me, smiled, and lifted a hand. I drove away. That may sound cowardly, but when you have lived beside a liar for years, you learn that truth is not always enough. Truth needs timing. Truth needs proof. Truth needs a place to land where it will not be quietly buried. I called my oldest friend instead. Her name was Tessa Ward. We met in community college before life turned both of us into harder women. She had been a paralegal for 12 years and had a way of reading documents like they had personally offended her. I did not tell her everything over the phone. I only said, "I need you to meet me somewhere Grant would never look." She did not ask if I was being dramatic. Good friends do not waste time insulting your fear. 30 minutes later, we met at a laundromat on Dorchester Road. The place smelled like detergent, wet clothes, and old coffee. Machines thumped around us, while I slid my phone across a plastic folding table. Tessa looked through the photos. Her face changed before she spoke. "Evelyn," she said quietly. "This is bad." "How bad?" "Forgery. Fraud, maybe conspiracy, depending on who helped him. And this insurance policy." She tapped the screen. "This makes my skin crawl." I swallowed. "I think he wants me dead." Tessa did not tell me I was overreacting. She only looked around the laundromat, lowered her voice, and said, "Then you need to stop acting like a wife and start acting like a witness." So I did. For the next 6 days, I became two people. In the daytime, I was Grant's wife. I cooked, smiled, answered texts, and pretended not to notice when he watched me over the rim of his coffee cup. At night, I became my own investigator. I photographed bank statements. I copied emails. I found a hidden folder on his laptop with invoices from vendors I had never hired and payment records to a company called Palmetto Coast Consulting. Tessa traced it. The company belonged to Monica Bell, Grant's assistant. I had always thought Monica disliked me because she was young, ambitious, and tired of buying anniversary gifts for another woman. I was wrong. She disliked me because she had already replaced me. They were not just having an affair. They were building a future out of my money. On the 7th night, Grant came home with roses. Yellow roses. My favorite before he ruined them by buying them every time he needed forgiveness. He set them on the kitchen island and kissed my cheek. His lips were cold from the rain. "Pack a bag," he said. "We're going away this weekend." My knife paused over a tomato. "Where?" "The River House. Just one night, no phones, no work. We need to reconnect." His smile was smooth. My stomach dropped. The River House sat 2 hours away, tucked near a quiet bend of the Edista River. No close neighbors. Wooden dock. Deep water. I heard Tessa's voice in my head. "Stop acting like a wife. Start acting like a witness." So I smiled back. "That sounds nice," I said. After dinner, while Grant showered, I hid a small recorder in the lining of my overnight bag. Tessa had given it to me along with 2 instructions. Keep it running. And if anything feels wrong, run first and think later. Then I packed a blue sweater, jeans, a toothbrush, and the last small piece of hope I had left. It rained the entire drive. Grant talked too much. He told me about a buyer from Atlanta, a marina deal, a hotel investor. He spoke like a man trying to fill silence before silence accused him. When we reached the River House, the sky was the color of dirty cotton. Inside, the air smelled like dust, damp wood, and something metallic. Grant carried our bags to the bedroom. I kept mine with me. He noticed. Planning to make a quick escape, he joked. I looked him straight in the eye. "Should I?" For 1 second, his face emptied. Then he laughed. "That's my girl," he said. Always dramatic. That evening, he cooked steaks in a cast iron pan. Grant never cooked. He opened wine and filled my glass before his own. I did not drink it. I pressed the glass to my lips, tilted it, then poured a little into a potted plant when he turned away. After dinner, he suggested we walk to the dock. The rain had softened to mist. Fog hovered above the river. The dock stretched out into black water, slick and narrow. Every nerve in my body said no. But the recorder was running in my pocket, and some part of me needed to hear him say it. We walked side by side until the house was behind us and the river moved below. Grant stopped near the end of the dock. For a while, he said nothing. Then he sighed like a tired man. "I wish you had just trusted me." My heart hammered. With what? With everything. I turned toward him. His face looked different in the fog. Not angry, not even guilty. Just annoyed, like I had made his life inconvenient by refusing to disappear quietly. "I saw the papers," I said. He closed his eyes for a second. When he opened them, the mask was gone. "You always had to touch things that were too big for you." There was a loan in my name. There were opportunities. You forged my signature. I built what you were too small to build. The river slapped the posts under us. "What about the insurance policy?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "That was planning." "For what?" "For the life you were never brave enough to want." The words were so cruel and calm that for a moment I could not breathe. Then he stepped closer. "I was patient with you, Evie. I gave you chances. I told everyone you were fragile, so when this happened, they would happened. Not if. When. I backed up, but my heels slid on the wet dock. Grant reached for me. I ran. Not toward the house. Toward the river. That may sound insane, but I knew something Grant did not. As a girl, I spent summers with my father on fishing boats. I could swim in hard water. I could hold my breath longer than most people expected. Grant grabbed my arm before I jumped. Pain shot through my shoulder. "Stop fighting," he hissed. I twisted, hit him with my elbow, and threw myself sideways off the dock. The water swallowed me whole. Cold hit so hard my lungs locked. Above me, Grant shouted my name. Then the flashlight beam cut across the surface. I stayed under, kicking toward the shadow of the bank. My chest burned. My clothes dragged at me. I forced myself not to panic. When I finally broke the surface, I was behind a curtain of reeds 30 yards from the dock. Grant was still shouting, "Evelyn! Evelyn!" I could hear the performance already beginning. I crawled through mud, keeping low, and moved into the trees. Behind me, the river carried away one shoe, one scarf, and whatever version of me Grant believed he had killed. I walked for nearly 2 hours through rain and pine needles. My shoulder throbbed. My teeth chattered. My hands were cut from branches. At some point, headlights appeared on a dirt road. I almost hid. Then I saw the dented green truck. Tessa. She jumped out before the truck fully stopped. "Oh my God," she said, running toward me. I fell against her, shaking so hard I could not speak. She wrapped a blanket around me and got me into the passenger seat. For a long minute, she just drove. Then she said, "I sit on the recorder." I reached into my wet jacket and pulled it out. The tiny red light still blinked. That was the first miracle. The second was that Grant believed I was dead. By dawn, search crews were at the river. Grant told them I had been depressed, emotional, unpredictable. He said I drank too much wine and wandered onto the dock alone. He said he heard a splash and could not find me in the darkness. Deputy Cole Brewer repeated that story to the first reporters who arrived. My body was not found, but the river was deep, the current was strong, and Grant cried beautifully. Tessa took me to a safe place no one connected to Grant would know. For 2 days, I slept, woke from nightmares, cried without sound, and listened to the recording again and again. Every time Grant said, "When this happened," my blood turned to ice. Tessa wanted me to go straight to state police. I wanted that too. But I also knew Grant. He would say the recording was edited. He would say I faked it because I was unstable. He would say, Tessa helped me create a story for attention or money. He had prepared the world to doubt me. So I stayed dead a little longer. That was the hardest part. Not hiding from Grant. Not changing my hair with drugstore dye. Not sleeping with a chair under the doorknob. The hardest part was watching my mother grieve. My mother said, "My daughter is not fragile." Whoever told you that never knew her? I pressed the phone to my chest and wept. I wanted to call her. Tessa took the phone from me and said, "Not yet." So I waited. By the 4th day, Grant filed the insurance claim. By the 5th, he held a memorial service. That was when I decided to attend my own funeral. Tessa said it was reckless. She was right. But grief gives people loose tongues, and guilt makes people careless. I needed to see who stood close to Grant. I needed to see who looked afraid. So I became a stranger. Tessa cut my hair shorter and tucked it under a black wig. I wore padded clothes that changed my shape, dark glasses, and flat shoes. She drove me to Savannah and parked 2 blocks from the church. "If this goes wrong," she said, "you leave. You do not confront him. You do not play hero. You leave." I know. No. Evelyn. Promise me. I looked at her and said, "I promise." The church was full. That shocked me. My mother sat in the front row, straight-backed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Grant sat beside her like a devoted son. Monica was 3 rows behind him. She wore navy blue, not black. Her hair was pinned neatly. Her face was pale, but she did not cry. Deputy Cole stood near the side entrance, arms crossed. That told me enough. The pastor spoke. A cousin sang. A slideshow played pictures of me smiling beside people who had never asked if I was happy. Then Grant walked to the podium. He placed both hands on the sides like a man steadying himself. "Evelyn was my whole world," he said. "My whole world." The woman next to me dabbed her eyes. Grant lowered his head. "I know some people wondered why. She seemed distant these last months. I want to say this with compassion. My wife was struggling. She hid pain behind work. I tried to help her, but love cannot always save someone determined to disappear." A heat rose in my face. Determined to disappear. He had almost killed me, And now he was making my survival sound like his tragedy. Then he looked directly toward the back of the church. For one terrifying second, I thought he saw me. But his eyes moved past me to the reporters. "If any good can come from this," he said, "let it be this check on the strong women in your life. Sometimes they are breaking in silence." I gripped the pew so hard my knuckles hurt. After the service, people moved into the church hall for coffee and sympathy. I stayed close to the wall, head down. That was when I heard Monica whisper, "I can't keep doing this." I turned slightly. She stood near a hallway with Deputy Cole. His voice was low. "Not here." "He filed already?" she said. "The money comes through, and then what? We just pretend." Cole grabbed her arm. "You wanted him. You wanted the house. You wanted the business." I didn't want murder. My breath stopped. Cole leaned close. "Then keep your mouth shut, or Grant won't be the only one losing everything." Monica pulled away and hurried toward the restroom. I followed. The restroom smelled like lemon cleaner and old flowers. Monica stood at the sink, breathing fast. I locked the door. She looked at me through the mirror. She snapped. I removed my glasses. For a moment, she only stared. Then the color left her face. "Hello, Monica," I said. She opened her mouth. No sound came out. I stepped closer. "Do not scream. You're dead." "No," I said. But Grant tried. Her hands gripped the sink. I didn't know he was going to do it. "You knew about the money." She began to cry. Not pretty crying. Real crying. Frightened, ugly, human crying. "He said you were leaving him. He said the loans were temporary. He said after the insurance paid out, he would fix everything and we would move to Florida." How romantic. I swear I didn't know about the river until that night. My body went still. "What do you mean that night?" She swallowed. "He called Cole. I heard part of it. He said it was done, but there was no body. Cole told him not to panic. He said water takes what it wants." The restroom seemed to tilt. "Do you have proof?" Monica shook her head, then stopped. "Maybe." I waited. Grant Records calls sometimes. For leverage, he keeps backups on an external drive in his office safe. Of course he did. A man like Grant feared betrayal because he understood it so well. What is the safe code? I don't know. I stepped closer. "Monica, look at me. You helped him steal my company, my house, and almost my life. If you want any mercy from anyone, this is the moment you earn it." Her lips trembled. "It might be your birthday." I stared at her. "My birthday?" "He used it for things he thought you'd never guess, because he said you hated birthdays." I almost smiled. Grant always underestimated pain. He thought because I hated my birthday, I would never use it. But pain remembers numbers better than joy. Before I left, Monica grabbed my sleeve. "What are you going to do?" I put my glasses back on. "What Grant taught me," I said. "I'm going to plan." That night, Tessa and I sat at the cabin kitchen table with cold coffee and a map of Grant's office building. Breaking into his office was a terrible idea, so we did not break in. We used his arrogance. Grant had built his reputation on being generous after a tragedy. Tessa called his office, pretending to be from a regional business magazine. She said they wanted photos for a feature about widowers carrying on their late wives' legacies. Grant agreed immediately. Vanity is a key that opens doors guilt keeps locked. I wore a gray polo shirt, a cap, and latex gloves. Tessa stayed by the door. 3 minutes, she whispered. I went to the safe behind the painting. My birthday did not work. For 1 second, panic flashed through me. Then I remembered Grant saying once that I never paid attention to details. He liked to use details from things he owned. Not my birthday. Our wedding date. The safe clicked open. Inside were cash envelopes, passports, a small handgun, and a black external drive. I took the drive. Then I saw a stack of documents with my company logo. Sale agreement. Heart Table had been sold to Palmetto Coast Consulting for $1. My forged signature sat at the bottom. Rage can be loud, but mine went silent. I photographed the papers and put them back exactly as they were. As we left, Grant's laugh floated from the lobby. Back at the cabin, Tessa plugged the drive into an old laptop that had never touched her home Wi-Fi. There were folders inside folders. Grant had recordings of clients, politicians, business partners, and lovers. And then we found a folder with my name. EV. Inside were audio files. The first was a call between Grant and Deputy Cole from the night after I found the loan papers. Grant said, "She saw something. I need the report clean if it goes sideways." Cole said, "You're paying me to fix problems, not make bodies vanish." Grant laughed softly. The second call was from the River House. Grant's voice shook. "She jumped?" Cole said. "Did anyone see?" "No." "Then she fell." That's the story. What if they find her? Then you're a grieving husband who tried to save her. The third file was Monica crying. Grant said, "You wanted the life. Do not get soft now." Monica said, "She trusted you." Grant answered, "That was her mistake." I sat back from the laptop. There are moments in life when grief leaves and something stronger takes its chair. I did not want revenge anymore. I wanted a courtroom. I wanted records. I wanted my mother to hear my name cleared in a room where everyone had to stay quiet and listen. Tessa contacted the private investigator, a former state investigator named Raymond Pike. He had a tired face, careful eyes, and no patience for dramatic speeches. He listened to the recordings once, then said, "We'll go to the state attorney general, not local police." Within 24 hours, I was in a conference room in Columbia, sitting across from two investigators and a woman named Marisol King from the Attorney General's office. I told them everything: the forged loans, the insurance, the funeral, the office safe. The arrest happened at a charity luncheon in Charleston. My food was served. Grant stepped onto the stage wearing a navy suit and a grief-colored tie. At the same time, I sat in a black SUV behind the hotel with Marisol King. "You do not have to do this," she said. "Yes," I said. "I do." Grant tapped the microphone. "Thank you all for coming to honor my wife." The ballroom quieted. "Evelyn believed in feeding people," he said. "Not just food, but hope." The side doors opened. 2 state agents entered. Grant did not notice at first. He placed a hand over his heart. "But I believe Evelyn would want me to turn pain into purpose." The agents reached the stage. One of them said his name. The microphone caught it. Grant Michael Hart. Grant turned. His smile froze. The room murmured. The agent said, "You are under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, bank fraud, forgery, and conspiracy." For a second, Grant looked confused, not afraid. Men like Grant always believe consequences are clerical errors. Then Marisol opened the SUV door. "That's your cue." I stepped out. The hotel service entrance smelled like rain and cigarette smoke. I walked through a back hallway, past stacked chairs and silver carts, toward the ballroom. No one stopped me. Maybe because I was supposed to be a ghost. When I entered, the room went silent in waves. First the servers saw me, then the tables near the back, then Tessa stood, then my mother, who had been brought there by Marisol and seated near the front without knowing why, turned around. Her hand flew to her mouth. I cannot describe the sound she made. It was grief reversing itself. It was a prayer and a wound, and a mother getting her child back from the grave. Grant saw me last. The agents held his arms. He stared as if his mind refused to translate what his eyes reported. "No," he said. I walked toward the stage. Every step felt like crossing a bridge built from every lie he had ever told. The microphone was still on, so when I spoke, the whole room heard me. I'm alive. He shook his head. This is not real. You said that about my fear too. People gasped. Cameras lifted. Someone started crying. Grant looked at the crowd, then back at me. She's sick, he said quickly. She's confused. This is a breakdown. Evelyn, sweetheart, tell them you need help. There it was. The old spell, the soft voice. The public concern. The words designed to put me back in a cage. But this time, the cage door was open. I looked at the agents. Play it. The ballroom speakers crackled. Then Grant's recorded voice filled the room. I was patient with you. Evie, I gave you chances. I told everyone you were fragile, so when this happened, they would understand. The room went so quiet I could hear a fork drop. Then the next recording played. Grant said. She jumped. Deputy Cole said. Then she fell. That's the story. Grant went pale. My mother stood trembling. You did this to my daughter, she said. Grant looked at her, and for the first time since I had known him, he had no performance ready. Deputy Cole was arrested an hour later at the sheriff's annex. The trial took 9 months. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. Grant was found guilty on all major counts. Deputy Cole was convicted later. Monica served time too, less than she deserved and more than she expected. Grant received 32 years. When the judge read the sentence, he finally turned toward me. For years, I had imagined what I might feel when he lost. Joy, maybe. Satisfaction. Relief. What I felt was tired. Not weak tired. Finished tired. Like I had carried a burning house on my back and could finally set it down. After the hearing, my mother took my hand outside the courthouse. Savannah sunlight fell across the steps. Reporters called my name, but for once, I did not owe anyone my pain. My mother squeezed my fingers. What will you do now? She asked. I looked at the street, the live oaks. The people walking past with lunches and briefcases, and problems that did not include fake funerals or river water. I'm going home, I said. But home was complicated. Heart table was harder. For months, I could not cook. Then one morning, Tessa came over with grocery bags. She placed flour, butter, peaches, and brown sugar on my counter. No speeches, she said. Just cobbler. So we baked. I cried into the dough. Tessa pretended not to notice. The cobbler came out crooked, bubbling over one side, the crust darker than I wanted. It was the best thing I had ever made. A year after Grant's sentencing, I reopened Heart Table under a new name. My Table. The first event I catered was not a wedding or a gala. It was a free dinner for women at a shelter outside Charleston. Tessa helped with drinks. There were no yellow roses. Before dessert, a young woman approached me. She could not have been more than 26. She had a bruise fading under makeup, and 2 small children asleep against each other at a table near the wall. She said, I heard what happened to you. I nodded. I don't know how you got brave. I thought about the river, the funeral, the courtroom, my mother's sound when she saw me alive. Then I told her the truth. I didn't start brave. I started scared. Then I kept moving. For a second, I heard Grant's voice in memory. Evie, you always panic before success. I dried my hands. Then I did something small and strange and perfect. I took the last yellow rose someone had accidentally included in a donated bouquet, walked outside, and laid it in the trash. Not gently, not angrily, just finally. People ask me now if revenge healed me. The answer is no. Revenge did not heal me. Justice did not heal me either, not completely. But revenge gave me one thing I needed. It gave me a door. Not a door into cruelty. A door out of the story Grant wrote for me. But I wrote a different ending. Sometimes, on rainy nights, I still dream of the river. Then the dream changes. I stop sinking. I open my eyes underwater. I kick. I rise. And when I break the surface, I am not gasping anymore. I am laughing. Because the woman Grant Hart tried to bury never stayed in the river. She came back with proof. She came back with fire. And she came back to set her own place at the table.